In the busy streets of Austin, Texas, 16-year-old Marcus Thompson often felt invisible. His high school was always alive with chatter, laughter, and the constant pressure of competition. Marcus wasn't a star athlete, the class president, or the kind of student teachers praised. He was quiet, thoughtful, and academically average, always there but somehow never noticed. Marcus had a secret passion: writing. Words flowed from him like a river, painting stories that reflected the struggles, joys, and complexities of life he observed. But writing aloud? Sharing his work with anyone? That was terrifying. Words were safe on paper, tucked inside his notebook, where no one could judge or dismiss him. At home, life was practical. Marcus's mother worked double shifts at a local hospital, and his father worked nights at a warehouse. They had come to Austin from out of state to build a better future for Marcus, but practicality always overshadowed creativity in their world. "Focus on school and real work, Marcus," his father would say. "Stories won't pay the bills." Despite their warnings, Marcus continued to write in secret. Every evening after homework, he poured his thoughts onto paper: poems, short stories, sketches of imaginary worlds. Writing was his escape, his voice, the only way he felt seen. It was during the school's annual talent showcase that Marcus felt a flicker of possibility. This year, the principal had opened a creative expression category, welcoming spoken word, storytelling, and original work. Marcus's heart raced. Spoken word? He had never spoken his words aloud, never trusted his voice outside the safe confines of his notebook. But something inside him whispered, maybe this was the moment to be heard. The weeks leading up to the showcase were a struggle. Marcus rehearsed every night in his room, mumbling lines under his breath, pacing the small space, imagining the crowded auditorium. Fear and doubt were constant companions. What if they laughed? What if no one cared? "You'll do fine," his grandmother said one evening. She had always quietly supported him, sneaking glances at his notebooks and smiling at the stories she read. "People will listen if your words carry truth. Speak from your heart, and no one can ignore you." The night of the showcase, Marcus stood backstage, trembling. The auditorium buzzed with excitement. Students performed flawless dances, sang polished songs, and played instruments with practiced skill. The crowd cheered for every act. Marcus felt smaller with every clap, every cheer, and every spotlight that wasn't his. Finally, his turn came. He clutched his notebook like a lifeline, walking onto the stage with shaky legs. The bright lights blinded him for a moment, and he saw hundreds of faces staring back: teachers, students, parents, all waiting. Panic rose in his chest, threatening to drown him. But then he remembered his grandmother's words. Marcus took a deep breath. "Hi, my name is Marcus," he said, voice barely audible at first. Then he began to read his poem, written about feeling invisible in a world that celebrated the loudest voices. "I speak, yet the room grows silent, my thoughts, my dreams, swept aside, in margins of notebooks and pages unseen, I find my voice, I find my pride." His voice shook at first, but as he continued, it grew stronger. He spoke of the boy who felt invisible, the one ignored in class discussions, the one overlooked by peers and teachers. He shared stories of quiet courage, of small actions that mattered, of hope against the odds. By the time he finished, the auditorium was silent. Then came the applause, slow, hesitant at first, then growing louder. Marcus's heart leapt. People were listening. They weren't laughing. They weren't dismissing him. They were hearing him. A local writer and judge, Ms. Harper, approached Marcus afterward. "Your words, they're powerful," she said. "You captured something real, something many of us forget exists in quiet students. Keep writing, Marcus. The world needs voices like yours." For Marcus, that night was transformative. It wasn't just the applause, the praise, or even the recognition. It was the realization that his voice mattered, that he could make people feel, think, and reflect, simply by being brave enough to speak. Encouraged, Marcus began to write and share more openly. He started a small column in the school newspaper, submitting essays and stories that spoke about students' hidden struggles, the unnoticed acts of kindness, and the quiet resilience of ordinary people. His peers began to notice, slowly but surely. Students who had once ignored him began seeking his perspective, asking for advice, or simply listening. The journey wasn't without challenges. Some teachers dismissed his pieces as extra credit filler. Some classmates mocked him for writing about feelings, and there were nights when self-doubt returned, whispering that he wasn't good enough, that he should return to hiding his words. But Marcus remembered the showcase, the feeling of being truly heard, and he refused to let fear silence him again. He realized that hope and courage weren't about being fearless, they were about acting despite fear. By the end of his junior year, Marcus had become something unexpected, a quiet leader, a voice for the unheard. He organized workshops for students to express themselves through writing and art, giving others the opportunity he had once longed for. He discovered that when one voice is brave enough to speak, it inspires others to find theirs. Marcus also grew closer to his family. His mother, once skeptical of his passion, now kept a stack of his stories on the kitchen counter. His father, quietly impressed, began asking Marcus to read aloud, sharing his writing with neighbors and friends. Marcus realized that sometimes the people closest to you need proof of your courage to believe in your dreams. In the summer before his senior year, Marcus submitted a story to a national young writers competition. Weeks later, he received an email, he had won first place. The story would be published, and he would be invited to read it at a youth writing summit in Austin. The news filled him with pride, but more importantly, it reminded him that even the quietest voices could reach far and wide. Standing on the stage at the youth summit, Marcus looked out at hundreds of young faces. He remembered the nights spent writing alone in his room, the doubts, the fear, and the longing to be seen. He took a deep breath and spoke. "Many of us feel invisible at times," he said. "We feel like our voices don't matter. But every word, every story, every small act of courage has power. You don't have to shout to be heard. Speak from your heart, persist even when ignored, and trust that someone, somewhere, is listening. Your voice can change the world, even if you think it's small." The room erupted in applause. Marcus smiled, feeling a sense of fulfillment he had never known. He had started as a boy whose words were unseen and unheard, and now, he had become a voice that inspired others to speak. Even years later, Marcus continued to write, mentor, and share his stories. He never became the loudest in the room, but he learned that the quietest voices often leave the deepest mark. And he carried that lesson with him always: hope, courage, and truth could make any voice heard, if only one had the bravery to speak.